TikTok, this youth group kids, they're like, and I learned, it's funny because I'll say more than one thing. Okay, here's the first issue. My issue is not with deconstruction. There's no problem with deconstructing. Not at all. If you're not deconstructing your faith, then you're not constructing your faith. Faith is a process of deconstructing and reconstructing. No issue with deconstructing. Here's the issue with detaching yourself from the church and deconstructing in your room by yourself, or deconstructing with your boyfriend who's not really saved, or deconstructing with a group of friends in college that are not a part of the church. You can deconstruct all you want as long as you stay connected with your pastor and small group leaders and deacons and elders. As long as you stay attached to the church is a great place to answer your questions and to ask hard questions. Or I should say, church should be a great place to ask hard questions and to explore some difficult topics. I learned this my freshman year of my undergraduate degree, and it's crazy how I learned something as a 17-year-old, and the context in which I learned it did not cause me to deconstruct. But then I'm like 33, we're going through a pandemic, and my kids, there are kids in our youth ministry and young adult ministry at our church that are getting exposed to the exact same information, and for them, it's crumbling their faith. And here's what it is. Freshman year of Bible college, I learned that feet can be, not all the time, can be a euphemism for genitalia in the Bible, okay?
Wow.
This is like, it's not very hard to even learn this.
Right.
And so, there's a couple of different ways to read Ruth's interaction with Boaz on the threshing floor, okay? One interpretation, which is a big, people who want to push purity culture are like, Ruth and Boaz were pure and they didn't do anything before marriage. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. But there's another way to read the text that when she lies at his feet, that maybe something sexual did happen. Now, I learned this my freshman year in Bible college, and here's the takeaway. The takeaway was the reason that the story of Ruth is in the Bible is to show us the lineage of David and to show us who the Messiah is, and to show us that even in Jesus's lineage, there was always a multicultural and multi-ethnic vision that God had. That although Ruth was not an Israelite, she is grafted in because Gentiles are not an afterthought. Gentiles are a massive part of God's vision. That's why this book is in the Bible. Therefore, if Ruth and Boaz did something sexual before they were married, I don't really care, because this book is not here to teach me how to date in the 21st century. This book is to teach me about Jesus, because Jesus is way more important than me in my dating life. Now, my kids hear this. They're like, Ruth and Boaz did something sexual, then I have the right to do something sexual. And there I go. This is the difference between baby boomers encountering the Bible and millennials encountering the Bible. Baby boomers could not go on YouTube and find out that feet is a euphemism for genitalia. YouTube doesn't exist. They don't have access to that information unless their pastor is going to get up and say that on a Sunday. And most times their pastor's not going to say that. I think we, people leading the church right now, have to realize that we have to be more intelligent in the defense of the Bible that we give and in how we preach. If we preach self-centered messages, then we'll always take the Bible and say, what can I help you to learn about your life? Which is really just a lot of self-help. I think we really need to return to a place where we say, yeah, the story of Ruth isn't in here to help you navigate your life. The story of Ruth is in here to show you God's plan of salvation through the Old Testament. That's why it's here. And so you're not here on Sunday for a self-help talk. You're here on Sunday to actually learn what the Bible teaches. And if I'm here for a self-help talk, then guess what? I'll deconstruct when I figure out that the stuff I thought was a sure foundation was actually not what I should have been building on in the first place. So I think that we have to acknowledge, I think that, you know, when I was growing up, right? If my parents got like a Bishop Jakes DVD or like a CD or DVD, like they would like go back to my home church and like tell our pastor, like my pastor was big on, like my senior pastor at the church I grew up at was like, hey, if you're gonna eat other grass, just let me know what the grass is so I could tell you whether or not it's like, you know, like healthy, you know what I mean? And so I remember my parents coming back from a trip and they got like some cassette tapes and some DVDs and like they showed it to like one of the deacons at the church, like, hey, like we got this stuff, what do you think? And my pastor kind of gave the thumbs up, like, yep, that stuff's great teaching to listen to, like go for it. I think that if we're looking at millennials and Gen Z, sheep are just eating grass from everywhere. They're eating poison grass, they're eating grass on TikTok, they're eating grass. You know, I was sitting down with a young adult at our church and I'm giving them like biblically sound, relevant relationship advice. Yes. I'm like, hey, dude, like, here's the deal. Like, I've known you for years. I've known the girl you're dating. I'm at coffee with you. Like, I love you. I'm your shepherd. I'm your pastor.
Yeah.
Here's some relationship, like, direction. This man quotes Mike Todd to me. He said, well, Mike Todd said in his last sermon, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, bro, let me tell you right now, like, I know Mike Todd personally, and if I told him that you did this to a pastor, he'd be pissed. Like, bro, I'm speaking in generalities. It's only your pastor who can speak in specificities. Wow. And I think that if you're gonna lead in the space that we're in today, then you've got to be the kind of leader who knows how to like know the grass that your sheep are freaking eating. Like I can't operate from the assumption that they're not getting grass elsewhere. I've got to operate from the assumption that like, yeah, there is content that is accessible to you because of the internet. And now I have to train you I can't just say this is where you eat grass. I have to give the sheep enough discernment to know what's bad grass and what's good grass. And that means I have to help them to be biblically literate so they can like steer themselves away from bad grass. Because I can't helicopter parent all the people in our church. I can't micromanage what everybody listens to. I have to give them a better diet so that they go, I don't know about that.